assembly plants are facing unemployment and layoffs once again, with a production shutdown that's been going on for weeks.
Stellantis' CEO is shaking things up big time with a bold announcement that Jeep, Dodge, and Ram are set for shutdown. We're not just talking about any car brands here. These are iconic names that have built passionate followings and a rich history that's been intertwined with American driving culture for decades. So what does this mean for everyone clocking in at those factories and the United Auto Workers Union, which is preparing to strike back? What happens next could change everything. Will the United Auto Workers take decisive action to protect their members? And how will Stellantis take this turbulent landscape as it faces mounting pressure from both workers and consumers? What's happening? Let's hit the rewind button to January 2021, a momentous time when two giants of the automotive world, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles and Peugeot SA, joined forces to create a behemoth named Stellantis. This merger was not just a corporate handshake, it was an act promising to fuse the innovative spirit and heritage of these two powerhouses into something spectacular. But as the dust settled, a wave of challenges started to spread across the landscape. Hidden beneath the impressive facade, the American icons under the Stellantis umbrella, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, began facing some rocky roads, and the United Auto Workers has thrown some serious accusations at Stellantis, and they're pretty fired up about the company's alleged failure to stick to the commitments it made during the 2023 negotiations. What exactly are these commitments, you ask? Well, the spotlight is on certain critical issues. Let me break it down for you. Allegations of broken promises. Now, these commitments aren't just lines on a paper, they're lifelines for communities and workers counting on the jobs they provide. The United Auto Workers is particularly zeroing in on two promises Stellantis made. First, there's the much anticipated plan to reopen the Belvidere assembly plant in Illinois, a move that could breathe new life into the local economy and provide much needed jobs for the area. The plant had been a major employer, and closing its doors was a big blow, so reopening it is like flipping a switch back on for the community. Then we've got Detroit, the Motor City itself, where the stakes involve the ongoing production of the iconic Dodge Durango. Keeping production humming in Detroit is more than just business. It's about safeguarding the city's rich automotive legacy and sustaining employment for the dedicated workers who have been a part of this historic industry. The Durango isn't just a car. For many, it's a symbol of pride and perseverance. The United Auto Workers' grievances shine a harsh light on how Stellantis handles these crucial commitments, linking them directly to concerns about broken promises and trust. These issues aren't just contractual obligations to the workers and communities dependent on them. They're seen as a measure of Stellantis' integrity and reliability as an employer. For the United Auto Workers, it's about holding Stellantis accountable and making sure the agreements reached in the negotiation table translate into tangible actions, not just empty promises. This debacle lays bare the complex dance between large corporations and labor unions, where negotiations and agreements can influence not just the immediate parties involved, but also ripple through entire communities and industries. Stellantis, on its part, is left to navigate this stormy sea of allegations and seek a resolution that could impact its reputation and operations going forward. So what's shaking up at Stellantis that's making them think about shutting down and maybe not keeping their word? The decline of Stellantis. Let's flip the calendar to 2023, and the scenario has changed quite dramatically. Take Dodge, for instance. Once a prominent name, their performance has nosedived, and when I say nosedived, I mean it. Their sales numbers have dropped a staggering 67%. To put this into perspective, last year they only managed to sell 199,458 vehicles, marking their lowest point of performance since the distant year of 1996. Ouch. Talk about hitting a rough patch. And just when you think one brand's struggle is enough, here comes Ram, walking down the same troubled road. They've had their share of woes too, suffering from a 26% decline in sales just in the second quarter of 2024 when you compare it to the same period last year. Zoom out a bit further to get the big picture, and you see Stellantis, the massive umbrella sheltering Ram, Jeep, Dodge, and Chrysler, facing an overall yearly drop in sales by 21%. That's not just a statistic, that's a massive red flag flapping in the breeze for all to see, signaling a troubling time for the entire conglomerate. And let's pause for a moment to chat about Jeep, because this tale keeps unfolding. Back in 2018, Jeep was riding high, reaching peak sales numbers. Fast forward to now, and they've been knocked down with their sales plummeting by 44%. In 2023 alone, they managed to sell only 642,924 vehicles. That's a number that hasn't been this low in over a decade. Buckle up, because the inventory situation is just as intense. They currently have enough Jeep stock to cover an incredible 195 days worth of sales. We're talking about 188,611 vehicles sitting snugly on lots, waiting for someone to swoon and take them home. Peering into the numbers, they paint a crystal clear picture that things aren't as rosy as they once were for some of these automotive giants that used to shine bright. If Dodge sounds familiar this year, picture this. Their sales have taken such a massive tumble that you can't help but wince. 67% decline might sound just like a statistic, but in the world of cars, that's a whole lot of disappointed dealership managers. Last year, they barely scraped past 199,458 vehicles sold, making it a rock-bottom moment comparable only to the not-so-distant echo of 1996. Ouch is an understatement. They've hit the rough waters like nobody's business. If I just said Ram is having a hard time and you thought of pickup trucks, let me give you a little more to chew on. Ram's feeling the pinch too, posting a 26% dip in sales in the second quarter of 2024 versus last year's corresponding quarter. Expand the lens to cover Stellantis altogether, and you see a drop so noticeable it's hard to miss. A 21% year-over-year decline. Yes, that's right. The same conglomerate encompassing Ram, Jeep, Dodge, and Chrysler is waving a significant red flag in the form of free-falling sales numbers. Stellantis is grappling with some major financial woes, and it's not looking pretty, but what could possibly cause this? Market strategy. Have you noticed how sometimes a company that seems to be doing well suddenly hits a rough patch? That's exactly what's happening with Stellantis, especially in the United States, their golden goose market. Imagine driving down a smooth highway only to hit a massive speed bump. Bam! Stellantis has faced a 16% drop in US sales, which is a tough pill to swallow considering the overall car market is actually cruising along with growth. Now, this isn't just a tiny hiccup, it's a major speed bump because the US is where Stellantis has been banking its big bucks. Carlos Tavares, the CEO, has had to face the music and admit that the heart of the problem lies right in North America, where they've seen their market share take a nosedive. But why, you ask, are they struggling so much over in North America? Well, one big issue is how they've been flaunting their rides, or rather how they haven't. Picture this. You've got a great car, but nobody knows about it because your marketing game is weaker than a rusty old engine. That's Stellantis' predicament. Tavares himself has pinpointed the lack of effective marketing as a major culprit in the saga of their sagging sales. It's like having a fantastic party, but forgetting to send out the invites. And as a result, they've ended up with growing piles of unsold cars just sitting around like awkward wallflowers at the dance. So let's dig deeper into this marketing conundrum. It's not just about creating flashy ads with computer-generated imagery explosions and celebrity endorsements. It's about truly connecting with customers, understanding what revs their engines, and showcasing how their cars fit into the fast-paced, tech-savvy, eco-conscious world we live in today. Stellantis needs a marketing miracle, a revamp that makes their brand not just a choice, but the choice for car buyers. Right now, they've been cruising on autopilot, and it's taken an unfortunate toll in a region that should be brimming with opportunity. It's high time they push the pedal to the metal in showing consumers exactly what they're missing out on. And as we zero in on Stellantis' US market funk, another picture emerges. The North American auto scene is a lively battlefield, and Stellantis found itself in the middle of it without sturdy armory. A smart, tactical marketing strategy could have been their knight in shining armor, but they're currently falling short. The lack of distinctive, unforgettable campaigns has left them vulnerable. Instead of being the standout superstar, they've become more of a bench warmer. And let's not even start on how this sluggish marketing contributed to an avalanche of unsold inventory. It's like cooking a gourmet meal, but forgetting to serve it. This struggle isn't happening in a vacuum, mind you. The market is full of ambitious competitors, each trying to outdo the other with slick designs, cutting-edge features, and strong brand storytelling. Stellantis at this point needs to not just catch up, but think way ahead to capture the imaginations and hearts of car lovers everywhere. There's a saying, adapt or fade away, and Stellantis is smack dab in the middle of that decision. Competitive pressures. Stellantis finds itself right in the crosshairs of relentless competitive pressure. Imagine being a player on a battlefield where you're up against both seasoned veterans and eager newcomers, particularly in the thrilling, fast-evolving world of electric vehicles. Traditional automakers aren't showing any signs of slowing down, while new entrants into the market are shaking things up. It's like being in a tennis match where every ace you serve is met with a fiercer, sharper counterattack, especially with the influx of affordable Chinese electric vehicles throwing a wrench into the works. This development has pushed Stellantis into a corner, compelling them to question everything about their product lineup and rethink their pricing strategies from the ground up. Then there's this whole arena of cost-cutting measures that Stellantis thought would be their safety net. But here's the kicker. Those strategies aren't quite living up to their expectations. Picture trying to patch up a sinking ship with a tiny lifeboat. That's how these cost-cutting measures are playing out. While Stellantis has been on a roll, reducing their workforce by nearly 50,000 since 2019 in an effort to stay afloat, it appears that trimming the payroll isn't quite enough to counteract the effects of dwindling revenues. These measures, thought to be a financial life jacket, are struggling under the rising tide of operational costs. What's even more challenging is maintaining any semblance of profitability while this relentless assault on their revenue persists. Stellantis is caught in a classic tug of war. On one side, the necessity to slash expenses, and on the other, the stubborn increase in costs that refuse to back down. It's a relentless balancing act that's not for the faint-hearted. You'd think cutting down almost 50,000 jobs would mean a victory on the cost front, but it's a reminder that facing Everest-like challenges demands more than just trimming here and there. Navigating this multifaceted challenge isn't solely about making cuts. It's about reimagining their approach to the pressures from a market that's transforming at lightning speed. Stellantis finds itself in the thick of an industry that's undergoing rapid change, where nimbleness and adaptability are key, particularly when facing competitors head-on. They are now standing at a crossroads. Do they take a bold leap to adjust and innovate, or do they stick to old strategies, risking further setbacks in profitability? Inventory challenges. Stellantis is wrestling with inventory management issues that are starting to snowball, resulting in headaches across their operations. You might think that having extra stock sounds like a good backup plan, right? But for Stellantis, it's turned into an expensive problem. They're dealing with a massive buildup of inventory that they just can't seem to sell down efficiently, which is creating a domino effect of troubles. These unsold vehicles are like treasures left to gather dust, tying up precious capital and valuable resources. Especially challenging are the significant backlogs haunting their iconic Jeep and Ram brands. Imagine rows of shiny Jeeps and hefty Rams just sitting there. Dream machines that aren't hitting the roads. And as if that wasn't enough, there's another storm to weather: manufacturing inefficiencies. The inefficiencies within their US plants are a big part of the Stellantis story too. When you're trying to make vehicles with speed, precision, and quality, glitches in the system can really throw a spanner in the works. That's exactly what's happening with Stellantis. CEO Carlos Tavares hasn't been shy about pointing out the root of these issues: supply snags, mixed up production processes, and surging costs. It's like they're trying to run a marathon in flip-flops. It might work, but not without a lot of stumbles. These operational tweaks take a toll on overall performance and swell operational costs, making it tough for Stellantis to keep pace with the automotive market's fast-changing demands. Let's drill down into what those operational inefficiencies in their US plants really mean. Essentially, Stellantis finds itself in a bind where their ability to quickly respond to market demands is hamstrung. It's akin to the difference between sending a speedy text and mailing a letter by snail mail. Being slow off the mark means missing out on opportunities or feeling the pain of mismatched supply and demand. The inefficiencies don't just bloat costs, they slap a delay sticker on the whole operation. It's a bit like trying to cook in a chaotic kitchen where the pots and spoons are all scattered about. Not impossible, but definitely inconvenient and time-consuming. Imagine the ripple effects of this sluggish response in today's rapid-fire market. It leads to bottlenecks that can disrupt production schedules and even throw timelines for new model launches out the window. Welcome to the world where yesterday's car models are today's leftover inventory, all because today's latest and greatest are facing production holdups. Stellantis needs to untangle these knots to regain their manufacturing mojo. This isn't just about tightening the screws, it's about revamping whole processes to ensure their plants can keep up with market expectations and consumer consumer desires. Now you're probably thinking what the United Auto Workers has to say about Stellantis' decision that has everyone up in arms. As things heat up, the union leaders aren't holding back. They're seriously worried about what these decisions mean for the workers and how they stack up against the promises in their deals. Let me explain. The clash of interests. United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain hasn't minced his words, going so far as to label Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares as a terrible CEO for his role in this unfolding saga. The union's top brass are fiercely protesting, arguing that the layoffs, including the latest wave of job cuts at the Sterling Heights assembly plant, deliver a hammer blow to devoted workers who have given their all to the company, shading it more like a corporate betrayal than a calculated business decision. Taking a closer look at the United Auto Workers' fierce opposition, you'll find that the core of their argument lies in Stellantis' rationale for these layoffs. The automaker has pointed to grueling market conditions and the necessity for recalibrating operations to stay afloat. However, from the union's perspective, this rationale falls flat on its face, failing to reflect the genuine nature of the issues. They see a glaring lack of accountability from the higher-ups at Stellantis, perceiving the actions as skewed priorities favoring short-term profits over the long-term welfare of their diligent workforce. Shawn Fain hasn't backed down, fortifying his stance with a vow to enforce the stipulations of their 2023 labor agreements to the letter. The United Auto Workers has made it crystal clear that any attempt by Stellantis to dodge its commitments will not slide by without a fierce challenge. After all, this is more than just a simple disagreement, it's about standing up for worker rights and dignity. As layoffs continue to unsettle the workforce, the United Auto Workers is ratcheting up their calls for solid job security measures. Think about it, in uncertain times like these, wouldn't you want assurance that your job won't just vanish overnight? That's exactly what's driving the United Auto Workers' vigorous advocacy for securing measures that shield workers from unexpected job losses and ensure they have a stable foothold in their careers. They're hitting the bullseye on the need for Stellantis to be transparent, urging the automaker to provide a detailed roadmap of future production plans and commitments to keep factories running. Zooming in, let's dissect the key demands that the United Auto Workers has placed at the heart of this confrontation. Firstly, they're laser focused on reinforcing the contractual obligations outlined during the 2013 negotiations. This isn't just some obscure checklist of demands, it's about apron strings that tie back to promises of job security and bolstering investments in U.S. operations. Shawn Fain has underscored this with a fiery warning. Any detour from these promises by Stellantis could spark significant actions, including the prospect of strikes. The union has made it abundantly clear that complacency or backtracking is not on the table, and they won't shy away from using their full arsenal to defend their members' interests. Moreover, the United Auto Workers is striving to install robust protections against arbitrary future layoffs, especially considering Stellantis' recent trend of slashing jobs across various plants. Their argument hits home. Based on the company's record of profitability, are such drastic layoffs even justified? It's a lingering question that the union has firmly planted in the public discourse, challenging the company's motives and calling for a humane approach to labor relations. Transparency is another cornerstone of the United Auto Workers' demands. They're pressing Stellantis to open up about its operational strategies and future plans, especially concerning any production shifts or potential plant closures. In a world where knowledge is power, the union insists that workers have the right to clarity about what lies ahead for their jobs and the company's trajectory. It's about bringing everyone into the loop. No secrets, no surprises. Strike threat. The United Auto Workers have given us a front row seat to this drama with Stellantis. The United Auto Workers has openly hinted that they might pull the trigger on strikes at several Stellantis facilities. And it's not just talk. If you think they're bluffing, think again. There's solid proof that their threats are backed by a strong mandate from union members. Recent votes have shown people overwhelmingly in favor of authorizing a strike, which really highlights how fed up they are with how Stellantis has been handling labor relations. This isn't just a minor spat, it's a full-blown standoff with workers ready to hold the line for what they believe is right. You can almost feel the tension crackling in the air as union members rally around this potential strike. It's not merely a tactic tactic for negotiation leverage. It's a powerful expression of unity and shared frustration. The dissatisfaction isn't about minute details either. It's a deep-seated disappointment in how the company has managed, or rather mishandled, labor relations. The votes aren't just statistics on a page. They're a loud and clear message to Stellantis that changes need to happen. Imagine the conversations happening at Stellantis headquarters as they grapple with this looming threat. The looming shadow of a strike is a significant strategy capable of halting production lines, affecting supply chains, and even shaking financial forecasts. Each facility where a strike might occur is another cog in the complex machine that keeps the company's operations running smoothly. Disrupting this flow could ripple through many layers of the company and beyond, impacting everything from dealer inventories to shareholder confidence. And let's not forget the personal, human element at the center of this. For each union member, the decision to strike isn't just a professional one. It's a stance that's personal, reflecting their core values and struggles for fair agreements. It's about making sure the voices that build, assemble, and create are not only heard but respected. Legal showdown. Stellantis, amid simmering tensions and a heated back and forth, decided to take a leap into the legal ring. Yep, they filed a lawsuit against the United Auto Workers. Now, you might be wondering why Stellantis would go down this path. Well, the heart of the matter revolves around the union's stance on mid-contract strikes. Stellantis is arguing that the United Auto Workers doesn't really have the legal clout to authorize strikes right in the middle of a contract, and they're basing this on what Stellantis calls alleged grievances. Alleged is the keyword Stellantis is banking on in this legal showdown. From their perspective, these grievances that the United Auto Workers has been waving about are not only unfounded, but also a full-on breach of the existing agreements they already penned. It's as if Stellantis is throwing down the gauntlet, stating clearly that they feel these claims don't just lack substance, they're flat-out violations of the rules already established at the negotiating table. Imagine the implications of this lawsuit. We're talking about a big, bold statement from Stellantis, essentially saying, hold on a minute, those strikes you're planning, they're out of bounds. Of course, when legal papers get involved, things get serious, real fast. For Stellantis, this isn't just about the letter of the law, it's also about sending a message, fortifying their stance, and setting the stage for what could be a precedent-setting case. For Stellantis, the stakes are high, not just in potential financial ramifications, but also in how this all pans out in terms of public perception and worker relations. Legal battles like this have a knack for escalating quickly and drawing attention from every corner of the industry and beyond. So what do we learn from this? As tensions rise and strategies clash, this saga between Stellantis and the United Auto Worker is far from over. The courts will now play a pivotal role, deciding whether Stellantis' claim holds water or if the United Auto Workers can proceed with its planned industrial actions. It's a battle of legal minds and interpretations, with neither side ready to back down. Did you feel the tension in the air? The drama unfolding between Stellantis and the United Auto Workers is just heating up. With each passing day, strategies collide and the futures of legendary brands like Jeep, Dodge, and Ram are on the chopping block. So what's on your mind? Do you think Stellantis will come out on top in their legal showdown with the union? Or will the United Auto Workers mobilize and strike for their rights, snagging a better deal for their members? Drop your thoughts in the comments.